I was taken off my biological mother at birth, and a Pākehā family adopted me when I was 16 months old. Being Māori myself, there are a lot of differences, but I always kind of leant towards the Pākehā side because that's how I grew up and who I feel most comfortable with. It wasn't until I was about 12 that I had an issue with being adopted. Kids at school started making fun of me because of the obvious physical differences between my family and me. I ended up getting real sad about it. I was like, I don't want the family I have. I want my biological mother. I had this idea in my head that she was this great big goddess, married to Bill Gates and living in a mansion. So I spoke to my social worker and my lawyer and ended up meeting her when I was 13. It was cool, but she wasn't this big goddess. She was living in a state house on a benefit. I was sort of upset by that because I thought I wasn't good enough for my mum, and that's why she must have given me up. It made me appreciate my family more, but I also felt I had failed them because my siblings were much better at school and more successful than me. It was around that time that I started self-harming. When I started, I think it was really about having mixed up feelings about my adoption and getting attention. The younger kids at my school started copying me and doing it as well, which I felt terrible about. I was like, this is actually really bad. I should not be doing this. They put a whole lot of guilt on me. Then this teacher aide, who was about 19, ended up becoming real fond of me. He started sending me all these texts, walking me home, feeding me alcohol. I thought he was nice, but he wasn't. He had bad intentions. I told my dad, and he ended up taking him to court over it. It was ridiculous, but I blamed myself for letting it happen. The whole school found out and gave me a really hard time. Other kids were coming up to me and asking what happened to him. I didn't know how to answer. It sucked. After that, I went to high school, where things went from bad to worse. One day I got told off, and while I was sitting in the dean's office, this dude came up and asked for my number. We talked, and a couple of days after that he took me into a changing room at school. I didn't really know what the hell was happening and didn't know how to stop it. He was really proud of what he did to me and boasted about it to everyone. He gave me a stink reputation, like it was all my fault, and I really hated myself. I decided to start again at a brand new high school, but that was pretty bad as well. I got depressed and my self-harming got really bad. I started making some really stupid decisions about alcohol and drugs and ended up going to school really intoxicated. They suspended me and then ended up kicking me out for wagging, disobedience, and drinking alcohol. I went to those alternative education courses, but it didn't work out, so my mum ended up sending me into rehab. I only spent about a month there before I ran away twice, and they ended up kicking me out. Throughout all of this, my parents were always real supportive and wanted the best for me. They hadn't quite given up, but they were running out of options as I couldn't really confront my problems. I'd pushed them to the side and kept making decisions that got me into a lot of trouble. I had a boyfriend over 10 years older than me who smoked meth. I chose to hang out with really bad people and even slept on the streets for a while. On my 15th birthday, I was sent to a girls' home because I had gone completely off the rails. I hated the home and I hated the world, but there was no way out. Being there really pushed me to think about my life and the decisions I've been making. I could say I just screwed up too many times and that forced me to think about my actions, but really, it had a lot to do with my family and finally becoming grateful for them and all their support. I thought I was fine by myself, but I really wasn't. After that, I didn't want to go back to high school. I knew I wanted some kind of high school qualification, but didn't know how to go about it until I was offered this really awesome opportunity at a riding for therapy centre, which was great because I'd been riding since I was 8 and loved horses. The place had a lot of kids with disabilities there, which I found quite inspiring. Their struggles were a lot different to my struggles, so every day I'd wake up and go to school with these kids, and I loved that experience. They had all these classes you could do. You could also earn credits from riding horses and doing horsemanship. Things didn't change overnight, but I became more aware of the consequences of my choices. One night my boyfriend talked me into stealing my brother's car. It was a real shock when my dad took me to see the car. It was a disgraceful mess. He made me go to school that morning, and I just cried with all the horses all day going, "Oh my God, what have I done?" I was seeing a counsellor from the rehab place, and she was cool. She really helped me. She taught me about my choices and my decisions. She gave me time to break down my situations and look at the emotional side of things, why I thought the way I did and why I was doing the things I was doing. My drug use at the time was quite crazy, but she let me be open with her and didn't judge me. She didn't tell me, "Don't do drugs, that's bad." She just talked to me and helped me understand the effects. By not feeling the need to defend my use, it helped me realize that I could make a lot better choices for my future, and that drugs weren't a part of that. Out of the blue, someone sent me an audition for a movie because the character sounded like me. I'd never done any acting before, but I was up for trying a new experience that was healthier than the choices I had made in the past. To my surprise, I got the role. I was like, really? Oh my goodness. It was a really cool moment for me. Waking up at 4 a.m. and going to set and getting pampered, getting my makeup done was a real cool experience. I felt I had actually accomplished something, and it gave me a reason to stay on the right track. I know I'm still young, but I've learnt a lot. I used to be a real partier, didn't give a rat's about anything, and was real self-destructive. Over the last couple of years, I've learnt so much about myself and where I stand, and I'm still learning. I used to go around to try and find places I could belong, but now I know I belong anywhere, exactly as I am. I don't have to look anymore. I don't have to try and find a place to belong and people to fit in with. I can stand by myself now. My advice is to keep hold of what makes you happy. Take the time to look at things from a different perspective. Stay positive and love life.